one of these lane progressions, and just making sure that when the Huskar decides to fight, that EG as a unit are in a position to counter the aggression from Complexity's lineup.
There's definitely a dichotomy there. I mean, anytime you see a Huskard plus Dazzle IO, always a scary proposition to face up against, but still does feel like EG are pretty well equipped to deal with it. I mean, by default, you're likely going to have this IO alongside the Huskar for the little bit in the early game. That's going to soak some of the experience. Then you're going to be up against a Lich. So overall, can kind of set the timings back, and as you touched upon real early on in the draft, as Z-Free could be in trouble here. Bottom lane, Crit's gonna find him, charge, jumps forward. I'm not sure if his team can follow up this deep with the tether out for Z-Freak, and a smart play by Complexity to throw their Wisp in front, have allies nearby, but out of the range of danger, and he's able to tether back and make it safely. But just to finish my point there, I mean, they should be able to keep the Huskar down levels-wise for a little bit early on. They have some decent counters in the Decrepify from the Pugna, which can stop him from attacking.
Frost Armor as well.
Yeah, Frost Armor is certainly a good way to deal with him. And then later on in the game, Puck, namely one of their better split pushers, can kind of split push fairly safely for most of this game. There's no real Orchid builder. As you mentioned, there's very few reliable disables, just a tiny combo to kind of catch him out.
Also, something important to note is Huskar isn't the kind of hero that catches up easily. So if EG get a good lead and they're careful about it, they can just seal the game from there. So we'll have to see how this early game goes. Right now it's Arteezy versus the Underlord top. I'm curious to see how this lane goes. There's also a Dazzle in the lane as well.
EG has guessed correctly as well. They put the Lich against the Huskar in this bottom lane, leaving the range creep mid lane for Sumin.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. You can see Moose taking quite a bit of damage, so Clink seems to be working out for them so far, as long as he manages to continue successfully trading hits. And I am almost certain that Puck will win this this mid lane, just because Tiny sitting on only one armor with no IO to help him, since the IO is in the bot lane.
So far looking pretty good for EG. Arteezy could use some mana regen, but he's got the Wraith Band, so likely going to transition that to Aquila relatively soon. And for now, while Mu is low level, can trade effectively with him in lane. Swindle's going to make a move over towards the mid lane. Just a passerby for the time being.
Dark light.
Yep. So I think EG, they're comfortable in this top lane. I mean, Mu's going to get EXP just because there's not kill potential on him. They can continue to harass him, but they won't. If he's careful, he shouldn't die, especially if he picks up boots. And this bottom lane should be extremely annoying for the Huskar, but it seems like they're doing a good job of just leaving solo levels for Chessie. I think EG are playing this Lich lane like to the textbook. Like they block these two camps, the hard camp and the small camp. So one way you can actually counter Lich is to stack and pull, just to also like mitigate the effects, right? So Lich is no longer ahead on EXP because you're denying creep waves. Your carry gets solo EXP, and EG sort of denied that by blocking both of these camps. But it looks like Swollen Melons has dewarded one, so they'll have that available shortly.
Mid lane, Avalanche thrives out from Limp. Can't quite get in range to be comfortable enough to toss, but he does now. Onto the Puck. Phase shift is there. Sumail should be able to jaunt back. Z-Freak, though, is there with the right click. And anticipatory play from Z-Freak. Going to draw the first blood on the mid laner, who was absolutely dominating the CS at 18-5 to the 10-3 of his counterpart before then. So a much-needed kill going to go the way of this cold Complexity mid lane.
Much needed kill. Very well done by Limp to sort of bait Sumail into there. Obviously, if Limp didn't have any help there, I think Sumail gets an easy kill there. But instead, they turn the tide. Limp gets a kill on Puck, so that puts him back in the lane.
Top lane charge goes out onto Mu, but as you said, the potential or opportunities for a kill in this top lane should be few and far between, as long as Mu stays safe. And for now, he'll just make his way underneath the tower.
I think one of the strengths of Underlord is he clears waves deceivingly fast. I mean, all it takes is one Firestorm to clear waves, and it's on a 12-second cooldown. So he kind of functions as an anti-split pusher, right? Because you just go wave to wave, and mid lane.
Well, gets the Waning Rift off, and that buys him enough time to phase and jaunt. For now, he will be safe. Crit hanging around here in the Roche pit, mulling over where his services may be needed. Gonna look for this 4-minute bounty rune, and he will deny it up from Z-Freak. That's big as the Io's bottle now empty. Shrine in the mid lane, of course 4 minutes in, so still a minute away from being up for the first time. And he'll make his way back top.
I think the reason why Underlord works so well for Complexity is because he does two things really well. He counters split pushers because he himself pushes lanes incredibly quickly. In fact, I think, to be honest, he's one of the fastest lane pushers in the game just because there's a 12-second cooldown on Firestorm. You lay 2 of them down, you get 2 waves, and
mid lane, Sumail again taken down by this duo of Z-Freak and Limp, and even Fear rotating through, but to no avail in his attempt to save his mid laner. No ice armor onto Fear. He's gone for the 2 points in the Frost Blast. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Universe taking a look at Swindles, who is level 2, holding a skill point, so not necessarily an easy kill by any rights. And now Universe with the decrep on cooldown, just for another second though. Gonna be just pressured out of lane by Chet.
Universe is doing really well in this lane. He's pretty much tied in net worth with everyone else in the top 4, so lane going quite well for him. That might put him in a good position to actually counter push or try to do his own split pushing while the Huskar does his thing in the mid game.
So EG dominating CS-wise here early on. Couple of kills under Complexity's belt, but still overall the farm, even though only slightly, in the favor of EG. Toss out mid lane onto Sumail. And Crit rolling through. Right clicks from the high ground should be enough, and they certainly are. Sumail, fortunately for EG's side, is the one to pick up the last hit there. It is a 4-man rotation in. Universe even joining the fray for that one, but they will kind of stymie the bleeding in this mid lane as that duo getting a couple of kills on Sumail just recently. Bottom, the rune will spawn. Universe is going to scout it out. It is going to be a haste. And he'll run into Swindles, which will force him to grab it up, but
charge up top.
Moo being aggressed on here. Going to be a tough kill. Tries to get the Pit of Malice off and is unsuccessful in doing so. And for that reason, Arteezy with the level 1 strafe able to bring down the big boy. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Swindles forced to forced to throw out the shallow grave. Universe, as it is nighttime, gonna guess that he jukes downwards and will guess wrong. Has a decrep, but he may just die here. Yep, burning spears, 3 of them on him, and he will buy out before going down. But gets a little bit confident with that haste rune and will be punished.
Arteezy is getting pushed out of the lane here. He's out of mana, he's out of health, so it'll be interesting to see if he makes the rotation after he comes back.
Yep, no salve ferried out, just the soul ring. And he does have the death pact, as you mentioned. Very close to level 7, though. Would want that extra point in the burning, or searing arrows, excuse me.
He might actually get another point in strafe. I'm not sure what the build is nowadays, but strafe scales incredibly well, so we'll see if he gets that. And he's actually a full level ahead of this Huskar, so he's doing quite comfortably. And even though Complexity have a few kills on this puck mid, Sumail's been doing a really good job of CSing, making sure that his lane is well managed, so he hasn't fallen too far behind. In fact, I think he's slightly ahead of the Tiny, so really well played by Sumail so far.
Crit will drop down a rather deep ward here in the Radiant mid lane, but Z-Freak and Limp caught a glimpse of him, so this may be promptly dewarded. And it is. Swindles will find it, but that will tip Arteezy to the fact that there's detection in the area, so for now it'll keep him safe. Z-Freak though on the low ground, and it is nighttime. They've barely caught a glimpse of him there. And rotation in through the mid at Arteezy. King.
Gold for me.
Swindle's not an easy kill. He's going to need at least Crit with him, but Crit's making his way down towards the bottom lane. And now Arteezy going to go in. This is a very brazen attempt by the EG mid laner. He'll force out the shallow grave, but he's going to get slowed up with the poison touch, and he will be brought down. A very confident play from Arteezy onto a Dazzle. Double coil here from Sumail. Gets the Waning Rift off. Doesn't connect onto Limp, though. Limp has an avalanche and a toss there. Chain Frost is only going to bounce once. Sumail in trouble. The spirits are coming through. He does have a jaunt. And will make it away. Spirit's still hot on his tail. But it looks like he'll be just fine. Make it back. He gets perhaps kind of baited in by Arteezy there. But Arteezy with his first rotation, a bit of a costly one for him. Going to drop down to the trio of complexity heroes in the mid.
And that was a high risk, low reward play, and it doesn't pay off for Arteezy. In fact, kind of puts Sumail in a dangerous situation as well. But you know, it doesn't look like Arteezy's deterred. He respawns, he TPs, he goes back. He's gonna go try to find a kill on.
And with a charge, this is gonna be a lot easier than the last attempt. Swindle's unable to get the grave off. Crit with the bash will finish him. And EG, 10-minute mark or so, will make a rotation down to the bottom lane. Can definitely pressure into this tower. However, it is extremely healthy at this point, sitting near 100% of its health.
Arteezy actually has to be a little bit careful not to get ultied by Huskar, just because if there's someone like Swollen Melon sitting around with a Sentry or Dust, there is actually kill potential on the Clinks, especially since Huskar has such high damage output, and there's this Dazzle here sitting ready to grave him. So there's really no clear moves that EG can make right now. I think their goal right now is to hit level 6 on crit, just to make kills a lot easier. As maybe you mentioned in the draft, there's not a lot of initiation from EG. Like, they could use a little bit more. So if they catch someone, it's going to be someone that's on complexity that is out of position, or it's going to be with the Dream Coil when complexity aren't able to actually fight back. So
yeah, I mean, once Sumail picks up a Blink Dagger, they should have initiation in spades, as you mentioned, relative to their opponents. As far as Limp goes, he does have 1100 gold on top of the treads and a full magic wand, but still a ways away from his Blink Dagger. Has Z-Freak up the hill, so feeling rather safe as he retreats towards the mid lane tier 1. However, Arteezy stalking mid lane, and Sumail nearby gets the coil off. Arteezy going to make his way up the hill, looking for the Wisp. Will not find him just yet. Z-Freak, of course, not level 6. Gets the overcharge off, but may just feed his life there, trying to save his comrade, and the canceled TP comes out from Swindles as well. So 2 kills plus a TP baited for this EG squad, and that'll be more than what they were hoping for in this mid lane. Top lane, Moo is going to be forced to TP out, and now Universe perhaps can put a little bit of punishment with his siege creep into this tower. For now, playing tentatively until he sees more heroes from the complexity side, as all of them but Chessie missing off the map currently.
I mean, that was a really good rotation from EG, and it doesn't look like EG are going to let go of any of this pressure. They smoked the Clinks and the Spirit Breaker
currently, but no vision for the complexity side. And now Z-Freak, his spirits just expire, so he won't even be tipped off to the fact that there are heroes nearby. And Crit, the one to pick up the IO. 12 seconds on the sideline for the IO, as Sumail will clean up the wave mid lane and let the creeps do a little bit of chip damage to this tier 1. I mean, charge going in bottom.
This is pretty ideal gameplay for Clinks, right? And you see Arteezy even has wards on him.
Level 6 now is going to get the Nether Strike off into Chessie. He does have the armlet. He's pretty tanky at this point. Catches the full combo, though, and it almost looked like he was AFK for a second. He'll start to right-click now with the Grave there, but perfect overlap on top of the Grave with the Decrepify from Universe. Now they'll find Swindles on the back line, and he'll be brought down to one big right-click from the big bad Bone Fletcher or Arteezy. Arteezy, after a very questionable early death, is now 3-1-4 on the Clinks, doing very well over the last few minutes.
Yeah, you can see, like, even when Arteezy did feed that kill mid, you could tell that he and his team sensed an opening where they were just so much stronger than complexity, and so you can see them making all of these aggressive movements around the map. I think they expended 2 or 3 smokes in a very short period of time, and I mean, it's paying off for them, but they still haven't gotten any towers, and they really haven't done anything to slow down.
Arteezy, he's going to pop a smoke here. Limp does not have the blink, though. And Skeleton Walk, level 2 at this point. It's level 3, in fact. So Arteezy moving very quickly will be able to outrun his opponents.
Limp's getting really close to his blink, and That gives a little bit of a threat to EG, since there's so many squishy heroes on the side of EG that can be bursted easily with that avalanche toss.
So yeah, you could argue that maybe that rotation from Complexity slightly earlier with the blink coming out, but they had obviously the tier 1 in their sights, in mind when they made that rotation, and that is exactly what gives the gold for the blink dagger to Limp. So he'll pick it up now. Sumail grabbing the last hit on the mid lane Radiant Tower, as EG will find a trade, but Limp yet to reveal this pickup of the blink dagger, although EG should be weary that around this time it should be coming out.
Charge bottom.
Yeah.
Move looks to be in a little bit of trouble here. Entire EG's collapsing.
Crit will cancel because the root would have stopped him. Beautifully played by him. He'll find the Nether Strike, and they get the bash, and that should be enough to bring down Moo. Without the bash, Z-Freak may be able to get in with the overcharge. They're going to find him with the coil, blow him up in fear with the Frost Blast, the one to find the last hit there. With the Clinks, they're certainly going to be pushing a little bit quicker than this Huskar, and Crit makes his way right up towards the top lane to ensure that no significant damage is committed into their tier 2. So EG across the map finding much more beneficial sequences than their opponents.
The Huskar obviously wants that halberd to make it a lot easier for him to fight into this Clinks. And Chessie's actually relatively behind, considering that he's the carry of their team. He's in 6th place in terms of net worth. Probably hurt a lot by the Lich, so can't really blame him for this situation. And EG's done a good job. I mean, they ganked him bottom, they pressured him with the Lich. The timing that Complexity are looking for, if you're them, is you're thinking, how do I make sure that my Huskars actually... Oh, bottom?
Yeah, Crit gonna try and finish this one off when he needs a right click, but the toss up from Limp was saved. Now Crit out in no man's land. The tether move speed for Z-Freak will keep him alive, and the Spirits finish off Crit. However, top lane, perhaps the more important target here. Sumail going to jump in, gets the Waning Rift off. Grave will be there, though. He's doing tons of damage here to Sumail. Sumail's going to drop. Can he get a kill in the meantime, though, is the question. He actually has a phase shift. Sumail going to survive bottling through that. Limp, though, rejoining the fray now with the Ice Armor. Fear, a rather difficult kill. Limp jumping forward. One more right click is going to be there. The Spirit, in fact, from Z-Freak will finish off Fear. A little bit of a difficult kill without the physical damage from Arteezy. EG may learn that lesson top lane when they look to go in on Chessie, and Swindles has done a good job of exactly shadowing the movements of his Huskar, not leaving an opening for EG to kill him off.
This Huskar is the most important hero on Complexity, and so Complexity, I think Swindle LNC recognizes, hey, I have to protect this Huskar, make sure that EG don't continue to gank him, and make sure that whenever they do gank him, we're ready to trade kills for it. And as I was mentioning earlier, Complexity, they're thinking, how do we make sure that our Huskar is in a position to continue being strong and continue being able to fight the Clinks, but also how do we secure Roshan in the next 10 minutes? I think that's something that Complexity are probably thinking about, since one of the win conditions on Huskar is actually to just get that Aegis and make sure that you're basically unkillable, so that EG can't really kill him twice in a row, or 3 times in a row if you consider the Shallow Grave, or 4 times in a row if you consider the Relocate. I mean, I'm sure it feels like this whole lineup revolves around them backing up this Huskar and making him able to hit buildings.
Moo could be in a little bit of trouble here. You talked about the next 10 minutes, and in that next 10 minutes, we're going to have a blink on Sumail and an Arteezy Desolator. He's getting to work on Moo, though. Moo proves to be far too tanky, and with the Relocate, they're able to turn it and get 2 kills for Complexity side. Universe going for the TP out will make it, but if only barely. However, that is a massive turn of events in Complexity's favor with the quick Relocate. And again, we saw this yesterday, opening on Moo, just never ideal with that level 3 at this point, Atrophy Aura with the damage reduction. He's just so innately tanky as well. And even with the Desolator from Arteezy, EG is going to be punished.
Yeah, this Underlord hero is deceivingly tanky, and he also farms deceivingly fast, so he always has his items in the game, and he's always tough to kill, really, especially because of that aura. And I think EG, or specifically Arteezy and Crit, probably underestimated how tanky this Underlord is, and how quickly the enemy team would respond.
30% damage reduction from that Atrophy Aura. Arteezy, though, he's going to find himself a double damage and reconvene with his comrades here on the high ground. No smoke, though, in the inventory of Fear, so just a little bit of farming. He'll pick up the Death Pack creep and perhaps get back to work. Crit, trying to get down some information, providing wards here for his squad on the opposite side of the map. And with this tier 1 down, we see nobody from Complexity playing in this bottom area of the map.
Interestingly enough, Sumail picked up Travels, which helps him move around the map a lot more quickly, helps him deal with the relocate threat from Complexity. But Complexity, they're postured up in Roshan, and it feels like Moo's just mid to sort of block a smoke gank or sort of throw EG off because Complexity.
Jumping through is the instant pre-calculated relocate. They've gone top lane to try and find the Universe Pugna, but in the meantime, EG's taken out their Huskar in the pit. They're going to buy back for this one. They understand the importance of this Roshan, but with the Ice Armor and all the damage coming out from Arteezy with that DD rune, they may just bring down Roche too early. They will get the Aegis up onto Klink's. Crit is going to charge the complete opposite side of the map. And with the buybacks expended, EG just looking to extract themselves from any further fight. And they will do so successfully. Z-Freak at the very beginning, channeling up the relocate, jumps in and relocates the Tiny up to top lane. They successfully kill off Universe, but it renders the rest of their lineup vulnerable, and EG punish them dearly in the pit.
I mean, what can I say? It seemed like a weird decision to relocate out, especially when they were already hitting such an important target. That is Roche. I mean, EG, they win like 3 scenarios there, right? Like they prevent the Aegis from getting Huskar, which kind of denies the win condition from Complexity for at least another 13-something minutes. And then they get the Aegis for themselves, which also gives them more pushing power, so they'll probably look to take all the outer towers in the next couple of minutes. And they also win a big team fight, so anytime you put yourself ahead of the Huskar and Wisp, it's really good. So
they also forced 2 buybacks, so you could even say 4-fold is that win for EG. Now they'll take the Huskar down. Bottom lane, Moo tries to TP out, and he will be successful with the Shallow Grave. However, the important target, who actually just bought back, is that Chessie Huskar, and he'll be brought down. 39 seconds on the sideline. That'll mean, at the very least, this tier 2 going to be forfeit for Complexity.
I mean, that puts Chessie so far behind that he really needed to be able to fight Arteezy this game.
Jump forward, Limp is going to go for the Avatos combo and the toss back onto Arteezy. They instantly pop the Aegis, but the Chain Frost doing work from Fear. It brings down Limp and it brings Moo low. He gets relocated back behind the staircase, but not far away enough from this mobile EG lineup. Dusk is going to be there to try and slow him. Sumail rather brazenly up into the high ground.
But back.
Yeah, he did tether up Moo, and Z-Freak jumping forward with his Underlord to both of their doom. EG not healthy as a lineup, but Complexity dead as a lineup. Chessie the only one standing, Limp the only one with buyback, and 22 minutes in here, EG threatening racks.
And it should be at least racks for EG, if not more, because EG can also just regroup, get some shrines.
There are tier 2s, but yes.
Realistically, it's really difficult for Complexity to fight now. I feel like Complexity sort of have to switch to a pick-off game, hope that EG positions themselves poorly, or hope that EG show an opening, because right now Huskar doesn't exactly have a way to get into these fights, and even if Huskar does get into the fights, he has to worry about Decrypify from the Pugna, he has to worry about Frost Armor, he has to worry about Disables from Spirit Breakers, so not an easy game for Complexity, but not impossible either. I mean, Huskar is one of the highest damage output heroes. You just have to be able to be in a position to deliver that damage.
And has struggled as well. Chessie has making any sort of item progression since his more than reasonable armlet timing. Since he did die a couple times and then bought back and died again. So only the 3 deaths on the Huskar this game so far. 3 out of 17 kills that EG has netted have been on the Huskar. However, the buyback really rearing its ugly head as far as the metrics go. Overall, 6th on the net worth chart.
And Arteezy has completed his BKB now, so he's much more difficult to kill. Universe almost has 4 staff. Crit actually almost has a halberd, so that should be very detrimental to Huskar, especially since Huskar hasn't even completed his own halberd, so he's very far from that BKB, so there's really nothing preventing EG from just decrypifying him or halberding him in the future. And you could say that Complexity kind of got caught in really weird positions, but you could also say that EG were very proactive in making sure that they didn't let Complexity have any space, and they're going to continue that with this fight.
Jumping forward, Waning Rift onto Huskar. The coil is going to connect onto 3. Arteezy going to BKB up and take out the Dazzle immediately. That's going to render Chessie vulnerable. Arteezy going to work. He takes a lot of damage from this Huskar, but he does bring him down. Moo will be next on the docket, and now Z-Freak going to be scouted out by that illusory orb. Waning Rift, triple kill for Sumail. Arteezy finishes one other, and that's 4 dead for Complexity's side. Arteezy doing 2,500 damage in that fight.
That's a lot of damages.
Even the Chain Frost doing work.
All he has is a Desolator and a BKB, right? So that's one of the insane things about Kling's. One of his strengths, right? The Death Pact just provides so much health and damage. I mean, those are the two most important things on a carry, really, just health and damage. So that makes Kling's as a hero positioned very well for these types of games where his team constantly wants to fight and where his team wants to be strong from the specific period of Kling's being level 6 up until like level 18 or even beyond that. Kling's as a hero, he only really suffers when the enemy team can sort of get on top of him, lock him down, and make sure he can't just dish out damage.
Dagon for Sumail. Debuted in the top lane. It's a Dagon 2, in fact. And that is just going to shred through Swindlemelon's Dazzle. Meanwhile, mid lane, charge queued up onto Chessie. He's going to preemptively pop the Inner Vitality. Fear will slow him up, however. EG don't really need to commit too hard for this. They will pop the drums on crit and back to safety. Jump forward, though. Toss is going to throw Universe into the base. EG not yet willing to sack him. He's going to get off the Decrepify on himself, and life drains up into a healthy position. Now bottom, they're going to go in on Z-Freak. He gets the Crave, though, and they will take out crit with Chessie. Now Sumail, he's a little bit low, and EG, after the loss of their Spirit Breaker, will retreat and reset. However, nothing of major value lost there. It is a kill, though, into the pockets of Chessie's Huskar.
EG, wisely back off after crit dies there. There's no way you take a fight on top of the hill, especially since Klinks is one of those heroes that requires him to have it like a distance on the Huskar, so the Huskar can't get on top of him. So you see, like EG, they don't want to give Complexity any breathing room, so they're sort of continuing with the aggression, but they only lose crit there because of Complexity's wise positioning to stay around their base.
And you can see, you know, somewhat, it kind of does feel like perhaps Complexity was drafted into a corner with that, you know, kind of long shot last pick Huskar. But you can see, even as far behind as they are, with the Wisp and IO behind him, he is very difficult to kill. Swindle's going to instantly pop the Grave on himself before even a tick of damage comes in, but they still end up finishing him off. Now Huskar tossed up into the air, gets decrepified, can't attack, while EG deals with the rest of his lineup. Moo going for the TP out. It's a triple kill for Arteezy in the meantime. Dark Rift will complete for the Underlord, but he'll be the only one to survive. And EG march down this mid lane. Chat wheels are flying, and Universe will get to work on this T3.
Yeah, Huskar is sort of like a timing-based hero, similar to like Alchemist and Anti-Mage. I mean, all of these heroes, they have very specific timings when they're strong, and if you don't get to that point, or if you don't abuse those times when they're strong, then your lineup doesn't work. And it really shows here with this game too in Complexity EG that the Huskar really never hit a stride, and
yeah.
I think the two big reasons is because the Lich slowed him down so much in lane, but also Arteezy doing these highly aggressive plays, just moving around the map, making sure that Complexity never got to the stage where that Huskar is just hitting buildings with 4 heroes sitting behind him.
Yeah, it was a great pick. It was after they had the Spirit Breaker, they then saw, you know, Dazzle plus IO, and picking the Klinks there just allows them to outmaneuver Complexity all throughout the early game. Dazzle IO, very good when they can be, you know, behind the target you're initiating on, but that isn't necessarily always the case. And we saw, maybe particularly that one rotation into the mid lane where Sumail had the invisibility rune and the Dazzle couldn't even TP in, ends up canceling it late. And EG took a big lead from that point on and have, as you said, continued to apply the pressure.
And so EG now, they're in a comfortable position. They're just thinking, how do we make sure we don't get picked off? How do we make sure Complexity can't farm freely? And then how do we make sure that for the next Roshan fight, we're there to contest it, or we're there to get it before Complexity even have a chance to fight it? So you can see both teams are posturing mid. I think they really value this side of the map right now because Roshan is slotted to spawn in 17 seconds.
EG hanging around under the cover of the fog, and they should feel more than safe that there's no Complexity vision on this side of the map, as Complexity hasn't traversed this side of the map in the last 8 or so minutes.
Both teams don't really have an easy way to initiate, but fortunately for EG, they're so far ahead that it doesn't really matter. So Complexity are the ones that are feeling pressured to really do something.
They are taking this pretty quick. See if EG can react in time. Weave is going to be popped here by...
I think they know. This could still be a good fight for EG.
They are going to jump through. Coil is going to connect onto 3. Phase Shift is there for now. Chessie is the one to grab the Aegis. Netherward doing work on the Complexity squad, and they're actually going to relocate out Limp, but that's going to leave Moo out in no man's land. Now Swindle's in trouble. He's going to drop. They're trying to cast. The Netherward kills him off. Chessie respawning in the middle of 5 enemy heroes.